Hey, welcome to my channel Industry 4.0. Today, in this video, we will get to know about different Python database frameworks. Also, we will learn features to assess when selecting a database framework. Please like and share the video and subscribe to my channel. So, let's start. Introduction. Python provides packages for record database engines. Those are equally open source and commercial. Flask places no limits on what database packages may be used. Therefore, we can work with any of our favorite MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, Redis, MongoDB, and CouchDB. There are likewise a number of database concept layer packages, for example, SQL Alchemy and Mongo Engine, that permit us to work at a higher level with steady Python objects. This allows alternative database entities for instance tables, documents, and query languages. In this video, we will get to know about different Python database frameworks. Also, we will learn features to assess when selecting a database framework. Description. First, we will study the factors to evaluate when picking a database framework. There are a number of reasons for assessment as easiness of use. The database abstraction layers are best related to straight database engines. Abstraction layers give a clear conversion of high-level object-oriented operations into low-level database instructions. These are also named Object Relational Mappers, ORMs. Sometimes we call them Object Document Mappers, ODMs. Performance. Translation from the object domain into the database domain at the time of conversions of ORMs and ODMs has an overhead. The performance consequence is insignificant in most cases. The productivity increase got with ORMs and ODMs distant offsets a negligible performance degradation in general. Therefore, this isn't a valid argument to drop ORMs and ODMs totally. Database abstraction layer selection is a sensible decision, as that delivers optional contact to the fundamental database. Movability. There must be deliberated the database selections open on our development and production platforms, such as we should realize what database varieties this service offers if we plan to host our application on a cloud platform. One more portability feature relates to ORMs and ODMs. Though some of these frameworks make available an abstraction layer for a single database engine, others abstract even higher and are responsible for a choice of database engines. They are all available with the same object-oriented interface. A good example of this is the SQL Alchemy ORM. That maintains a list of interactive database engines with the standard MySQL, Postgres, and SQLite. Flask integration. Picking a framework that has integration with Flask is not totally essential. However, it will protect us from having to write the integration code ourselves. Flask integration could make simpler configuration and operation. As a result, using a package exactly designed as a Flask extension should be favored. Types of Python frameworks. Following are generally three types of Python frameworks. Full stack. These frameworks are a one-stop solution for all developer desires. The form generators, form validation, and template layouts are accessible by a full-stack framework. Micro framework. These frameworks are lightweight. They don't deal with extra functionalities and features. Database abstraction layer, form validation, explicit tools and libraries are best examples of micro frameworks. Developers using a micro framework essential to add a lot of code and extra requirements by hand. Asynchronous. To some extent, asynchronous framework is a micro framework that permits handling a big set of simultaneous connections. It was built for Python using the programming language's Essentio library. Best Python frameworks. Django. Django is an allowed and open-source Python framework. It allows developers to develop difficult code and apps rapidly. Django framework helps in developing quality web applications. It is amongst the greatest Python frameworks. It is used for the rapid development of APIs and web applications. This top framework makes more efficient web application development by providing changed dynamic features. It has a huge variety of libraries and highlights for use, fewer lines of code are needed, and offers reusability of components. Main highlights: an excess of ready-to-use libraries, verification support, database schema relocations, object relational mapper (ORM), sustenance for web servers, template engine, powerful URL system. CherryPy. CherryPy is shown to be very fast and stable. It is also an open-source Python web development framework. It inserts its own multi-hung server that may run on any working framework that supports Python. CherryPy is a reasonable web framework. It authorizes us to use any kind of technology for data access, templating, and many more. It can do all that a web framework is able to. Main highlights: many out-of-the-box tools for verification, hiding, encoding, sessions, static content, and much more. A simple and easy built-in plugin system. HTTP/1.1 acquiescent WSGI thread-pooled web server. Integral support for coverage, profiling, and testing. DLZs for running multiple HTTP servers concurrently. Great configuration system. Runs on Android. Bottle. Bottle is one of the top Python web frameworks. It falls under the class of small-scale frameworks. Basically, it was developed for building web APIs. It tries to perform everything in a single source document. Bottle has no other needs than Python standard library. It permits developers to work closer to the hardware. Main highlights: connector support for third-party template engines and WSGI or HTTP servers. Permits simple access from cookies, data, and file uploads. Integral HTTP server. Plugin support for diverse databases. Delivers request dispatching routes having URL parameter support. Flask. Flask is available under the BSD license that is enthused by the Sinatra Ruby framework. It believes upon the works of WSGI Toolbox and Jinja 2 template. The key drive is to help develop a strong web application base. Developers may develop the Python backend framework any way they required. It was designed for applications that are open-ended. Big companies like LinkedIn and Pinterest use the Flask. Main highlights: inbuilt fast debugger and development server. HTTP request hold. Jinja 2 templating. RESTful request dispatching. Support for plugging in any ORM. Support safe cookies to start client-side sessions. Unicode-based. Unit testing support. WSGI 1.0 compliance. Pyramid. The Pyramid is full-stack important Python framework. Its main goal is to attain as much as with minimalistic difficulty. The Pyramid's most needed feature is the ability to work so well with small as well as full-scale applications. There is a crowd of resources obtainable to extend its abilities as per the necessities call for. Main highlights: flexible authentication and approval. Function decorators. HTML structure authentication and group renderers. Single file applications. Templating and asset specifications. URL mapping based on routes configuration and generation.